you're a good person, if you love yourself as well, you give love so much to your kids, to your partner, you sacrifice this so much for other people. Now, why can't you sacrifice for yourself? If this relationship is not working for you, then leave it. And it was really such a hard decision to make until
Hmm.
when I just, you know what, I just want to make a decision of this is it. I don't want to accept being treated this way. I don't want to accept this kind of life anymore. I want to make a change. And when I made that decision, it feels like such a heavy burden was lifted out of me and I was just able to breathe. I'm like, wow, I think I can live life now and just a lot of possibilities that I could actually think of.
Emerge Stories is a place where, as the name implies, you are going to hear stories. Stories from people all over the Philippines who have come from many different types of backgrounds, and especially people who have gone through struggles, people who have gone through the challenging parts of life. And I hope that these stories will relate for you in some way, that some of these stories will really land for you because these people have gone through probably just about the same thing you might be going through right now. Welcome back once again to Emerge Stories. Today we have a very special guest, and that is no other than my co-founder, Gladys Palarca. She's also my partner, and I am excited for you guys to get to know her more and more. Gladys is one of the most committed people I've ever met when it comes to growing oneself, to personal development and the little difficult parts of life, the hard emotions. She's really a master at sometimes going through the painful things, but always coming out the other side with a learning and applying those learnings in who she becomes. And despite growing up in a poor area in Cebu, in a squatter's area, despite massive disappointments in her younger life, she has just taken extreme ownership of who she's becoming. And I get to watch her every day craft her future self. So I hope that you guys get something useful from her story and hearing the choices that she's making. And Gladys is not perfect, I can promise you that. And just like all of us, she has many parts of her that she's working on all the time. But if you think she's amazing like I do, then I really encourage you to follow not only this, listen to it to the end, share it with somebody, but also follow content that Gladys creates because I think she has the potential to really inspire a ton of people here in the Philippines because I think everybody has the potential to grow like she has chosen to do. It's hard, but we can all do it. All right, enough intro from me. You can tell I'm a bit enamored with this person. Let's jump into the interview, and I hope you enjoy. Thanks for being here. Let's jump into a little bit of your backstory. And I have a bit of an advantage this time because I know most of it, I think. But why don't you start by telling people a little bit about if you were in a coffee shop or an elevator where you had to introduce yourself in a business networking event or something, and you had just that 30 seconds to say, what are you doing? Who are you? How do you serve the world? Who is Gladys if you have to say it in 30 seconds?
Wow, that's a pressure. Who is Gladys right now? I am a co founder of Emerge PH, which is something that I'm really passionate about. So, what we aim for is to inspire 5 million Filipinos by 2030 to take full ownership of their growth and learning. And it has been my journey of really taking radical ownership of my personal growth, crafting my life for the past, wow, almost 2 years now that I really dig deep and really focus on that journey.
Nice. That's pretty well packaged in, I think, about 30 seconds. So I know that's true. And I would say you're really one of the people. Well, I know so many people on this planet, and I specifically surround myself with people who really do that, who are very interested in developing their potential and growing themselves as much as they can and learning as fast as they can all the time. And I think you're just one of the most incredible self teachers or fastest learners, fastest self developers I've ever met. And it's been exciting to see some of that journey. But let's go back to where did you start life? Like a little bit of your background story. Where were you born? Where did you grow up? What was life like when you were a kid?
Yeah, I was just reflecting on this journey a few weeks ago when we were planning to move here in Negros. I decided I want to go back to see my siblings, to catch up with my family and friends. And when I stayed there for 2 days, it just hit me like, wow, this is actually the place where I was. This is where I grew up in a squatter area, like no shower, just showering outside the house with neighbors seeing you, with people like passing by the street. Like there's no privacy, and life is all about waking up, surviving, thinking of what food to put in the table, and worrying if my salary is even enough to pay the bills and to provide for my kids. So that was the kind of life that I grew up with. I was born in Zamboanga in Mindanao, and there my my dad was like a fisherman and a farmer, and to buy bread is a luxury. And I've heard from my sisters that in order for them to go to school, they would walk miles, kilometers away. They have to trade like root crops to their classmate for them to be able to have a paper or a pencil to use. So that's the kind of life that I came from.
And how many kids in your family?
I am the youngest of 12. So
Okay.
very hardworking parents. That was tough. It was happy family, but definitely very tough to have a lot of kids needing to be provided. And basically, our parents, I lost my mom when I was 4. I never really grew up with a mother. My dad was the one that I am very close with in the family. And I know he did his best to really provide for us. And his main goal for us is to just be able to finish study. And that's the biggest dream that he have.
So tell us about maybe life as a kid and school. And you said that goal of studying. So how was that experience or that journey for you?
So I'm very close with my dad, and he is my greatest supporter. He's the one who always reminds me of how amazing I am, how smart I am. And so I believe in that. And when I went to school, I have this motivation of I want to make my dad proud. So I better be really good at school. But then when I started going to school and be, what do you call, exposed to the outside world other than my family, I realize it's not an easy world because I get bullied so much. I grew up with an eczema. The kids there would always tell me like, oh, you're ugly. And there's this word, ah, kagiro, those things like you have a lot of wounds and scars in your skin. So that really created such a big wound in myself growing up that impacted me so much with my self-worth and self-belief that I am not beautiful. And that really made my confidence and self-esteem very low. But then I just had this mindset as well of, okay, I may not be beautiful, but I know I'm smart and I know I can make it. And as long as I make my grades good, I work hard in school, I'll be able to achieve my dreams. I'll be able to finish college. I'll be able to land a job, and I'll be successful. And once I'm successful, these things will gonna be fixed. Like all these flaws that I have in my skin, I'll be able to fix this. So that was like the only thing that I'm holding into, and not like breaking down or committing suicide, even though every day I get bullied a lot at school.
So you made a decision to bank on or believe in your ability to learn or your I guess at that point you were saying I'm smart. Were you saying I'm smart or I can learn anything or a mixture of the two?
Mixture of the two.
And that you made a decision that you would put the work into that strength and make that your path or your superpower. So then how did that go? Did it work?
Yeah, so basically, after I finished with honors and when I reached high school, I was like, oh, there's no more ribbons. There's only medals that will be given here. So I need to step up other than being in the just receiving ribbons. Now I need to be in the honor roll. So that was scary part. And I think I had this one teacher, like this one person who just reminded me, given me this feedback. Oh, you're actually very smart. You're good in English. And just that one compliment from this teacher gave boost my confidence and let me believe that I can actually make it. I can really step up and be a better with my current score or performance at school. And again, still that believing mindset that I can, it was able to pave the way for me to really achieve. And I even graduated as class valedictorian because I made this vision in, I think something that I notice in myself is I love to visualize the kind of future that I want for myself. Like when I was in elementary days, I want to make my father proud, and therefore I need to receive recognition at school. And just having that visualized and working my way through that, I was able to achieve it. And this time in my high school days, I was like, I need to be the class valedictorian so that I can go to college. I can have a full scholarship. And I visualized that and I believe in myself. And I had this teacher who validated me that I am smart and I can do it. And I was able to pursue it. I graduated class valedictorian. But there's something happened. Yeah. So what happened is part of me was thinking, I also don't want to miss out on things. Feel like I'm confident enough that I am smart, that I will be able to make or choose the right decision, even though I will decide to have dating on the side. Because most of my sisters was telling me like, oh, you will not be able to graduate as class valedictorian if you start dating around because that will distract you and all of that. And I, at the back of my head, I really get annoyed when I heard that and I want to challenge myself. No, I know I can do these things and still be able to keep up with my grades, which I was able to do. However, as soon as I graduated, I got pregnant. And that was like a very turning point of my life from Gladys, who have such a very high confidence, believe in 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 herself, that she's smart, she's capable, she can do it. All of that belief got swallowed. It's like this wave. I was like washed away by the wave, and
Why?
everything.
Why did getting pregnant change the way you saw yourself?
It's a good question because here it's like when you're pregnant, when you become a mother, you lose yourself already. You will not be who you are anymore. Your identity is now going to be shifted to becoming Gladys, to becoming a mother. Your sole focus now is how can you be a good mother to your kids? How can you be a good partner to your husband or boyfriend now? That's the belief here, mostly in the Philippines, is that you don't prioritize yourself anymore.
Got it. Was it just that? Was it just that you were seeing that forced shift in identity? Or was there also the fact that you failed at what you thought you could do? Was there some of that too? Or
That too. I think also that this guilt and shame associated with it, guilt that I think it's mostly shame at that point. Shame that I did something that felt it's a mistake. It's immoral to have a premarital sex. And being pregnant at 16 years old, I feel so ashamed of myself for being in that situation and having a proof of the things, the wrongdoings that I did, having sex at an early age and disappointing my father as well. Like all of that just hit me hard and made me feel like I am such a bad person. And what kind of life will I be giving to my child right now? There's no chance for me to achieve the goals that I set for myself. There's no way for me to reach there. So that was the
yeah.
kind of mindset that I was having.
So you, in your younger years, you had this skin issue that led to a lot of bullying, low self-worth when it comes to your beauty or your appearance.
Mm,
So then you make a decision that you're going to be smart and you're going to succeed. And then you build up this confidence. You start to get, I think from your stories that you've told me in the past, it sounds like you got really confident in school, maybe a little too much. And then everything crashes and now your self-belief is way back down again. So just crumbled all the belief you built about yourself. Is that
Yes,
fair?
because that belief that I'm really holding into, which is I am smart, I can make the right decision, now that's in question already. Because if I am smart, I will not let myself get pregnant. If I am smart, I should be able to go to college. But now here I am, pregnant at the age of 16. So one belief that keeps me going is now shaky. I
Yeah.
couldn't believe it anymore.
Who you are now and what about the way humans work. How do you look back and see, do you see it differently a little bit now? Do you see what are the differences looking back from now in that mistake? How do you see it now?
I think, first of all, I would just want to hug that old self, remembering what I've been through before and the kind of pain and suffering that I've injected to myself because of the situation that I'm facing. I know it's very hard, and I know a lot of women, like single women here in the Philippines, who's pregnant at a very young age, who, with family pressure and a lot of criticizing from neighbors and other people. It's very tough. And now that I've learned so much and I've grown myself and I've understood, I wouldn't want to feel shame on the things that happen, because there's no point of shaming yourself, or there's no point of feeling bad about something that already happened. Whatever happens in the past, there's no way for you to undo it. So instead of keep repeating it over and over, blaming yourself, blaming other people, why don't you just take a moment and accept it? Just the acceptance really is something very powerful for me. Accept that, okay, this is my life. I'm going to be a mother now, and this is going to be the journey that I'm going to take. What will I do? That way I could focus on the future. I could focus on the opportunities and possibilities that I could have taken. Because
Yeah.
back then I wasn't thinking of all of that. I was like looping in this negativity. And I guess that's the reason why for 6 years of being in that relationship, my life was in misery.
What was the journey from finding out you were pregnant and then like how did your life change? Where did you end up from there?
So my kid's dad, we are high school classmate, schoolmate. So we both just finished high school. And at first I thought, okay, we can figure it out. We have education, we can get a job. I couldn't get a job. I'm a minor, but he can get a job. I think he's 22, 23 at that time. And I guess because we're both not ready, we're basically young and dumb and broke. So there is a lot of fighting between the two of us, physical fights, emotional fights. Before I'm sharing the story of my life with this partnership in a very negative way, where I feel like I'm the victim. I'm the one who was physically abused. I'm the one he got pregnant with. And I am the one who takes care of the family, provides the family, and he does nothing. He's just consumed by all the vices that is taking at the time. But I was very surprised that when I actually stepped back, and with the kind of thinking that I'm trying to improve and have right now, I actually see that it's not just me who's the victim there. We're both, or there's really no victim. We're both just two people who's trying to navigate life together. And it just so happened that I was the one who's have the mental capacity to really move forward. And at that point, I was also the kind of partner that wasn't really fully present for him. Instead of supporting him in his lowest point, I was like nagging at him, pointing fingers at him, blaming at
Criticizing.
him,
Yeah.
criticizing him. And that wasn't helpful, only put him even deeper into that dark path. And now I actually can feel compassionate and sad for that journey for him. And I wish I could have done better to support him, to support each other. But again, it's all in the past. There's nothing I can do. What I can do now is just be able to forgive myself, forgive him for what had happened between the two of us, and to move forward. Like, how can we be a good friends for each other? And how can we be a good parents to our kids. So that's now my future goal for the two of us.
It's beautiful. So how long were you together?
6 years of almost everyday fighting and hurting each other.
And so I think you alluded to it just now, but through that period of time, from what I know, you were the one that was mostly going out of the house, you got employment, you figured out a way to get a job. And then, yeah, I guess we don't have to go too deep into that. But from what I know about your story, you worked pretty hard at those jobs and did pretty well in the BPO space for a while. We've actually done
Mhm.
an interview on that in the past, right? But what happened? Why are you not in the relationship now? What led you to the point where you finally, where something changed?
Yeah, at first, even though the relationship is so bad and toxic already, you can see how much we're hurting each other. And even my family and friends were telling me, get out of the relationship, even on the first year of the relationship, because the first year we already went to the end, we already went through that phase. But part of me, because of that low self esteem and low self confidence, I was telling myself, like, I couldn't find any better person than this. I'm just glad that someone even noticed me and picked me. And even worse now that I have a kid, it's like a liability. There will be no person that will pay attention to me or love me anymore. And I was just thinking maybe I just have to do something to work it out. And I tried. I did my best to really work it out at the time. Maybe I just have to change. Even on the 3 year of relationship, I decided, you know what, stay at home. Let me be the one working because I feel in my mind, I was thinking that maybe if he doesn't have his own income and he's with the kids, he will eventually realize that I need to change. Like in my mind, like I need to create something to change him. I need to make some change the setting, change the setup to change him. But then I realize now you cannot change someone. Only that person can change himself. And that was like the biggest mistake that I've did and I've assumed and I thought before that even made our relationship worse. Eventually, after all the things that I've tried and failed to try to change him, I had there's big thing that happened in the family where we had a fight because before we move, we live in his mother's house. And I decided maybe if I move to my sister's, to our compound there in where I'm neighboring with my sister, it will be better. He will not hurt me anymore physically because my sisters are around. But what happened is that he doesn't hurt me physically anymore, but he's like breaking things in the house. So my sister, because they're very close, they call a cop, they call a police, and my sister took me on the side and tell me, like, hey, you're not a minor anymore. Dad is no longer here. That is my dad died scene. It was also a very tragic moment. But yeah, my sister told me you need to make a decision right now. It's either you ask him to leave this place and leave you alone. We can get a restraining order for him so he cannot come close to you anymore in the family, or both of you leave this place because we don't want him here and we don't want this trouble around the family, around the neighborhood. And I reflect on that moment. I was like, I asked myself, is this really the kind of life that I want to continue? Have I exhausted all the possible options that I can think of to really save this relationship? What is really my priority? After asking those questions, there's two voices in my head. One voice is telling me, like, no, you can't have a broken family for your kids because it's bad. They are your priority. It's very selfish of you to just give up on the relationship just because you feel tired and you don't want these fights anymore. You just have to resolve the issue. You can work it out. And then there's other voice telling me, you've had enough. Look at yourself. This is not something that you deserve. You're a good person. If you love yourself as well, you give love so much to your kids, to your partner, you sacrifice this so much for other people. Now, why can't you sacrifice for yourself? If this relationship is not working for you, then leave it. And it was really such a hard decision to make until
Mhm.
when I just, you know what, I just want to make a decision of this is it. I don't want to accept being treated this way. I don't want to accept this kind of life anymore. I want to make a change. And when I made that decision, it feels like such a heavy burden was lifted out of me and I was just able to breathe. I'm like, wow, I think I can live life now, and just a lot of possibilities that I could actually think of.
And you stayed stuck for a long time because you had these stories like, I'm not good enough to find someone else. I have kids. I'm not going to be able to find someone else. So I want to hear about what you did after that. But just going back, you just now were talking about thinking to yourself how you show up for your kids and thinking back to the kind of energy that you showed up with every day in that relationship compared to fast forward several years. What can you see as the differences?
Yeah, before in that relationship, I wasn't happy. My kids are seeing how miserable I am. Even there are times that they see me cry. They're like, "Oh, mom, did you and dad fight again? Did he hurt you again?" My son was asking me that. And it hurts me because I realize, like, what kind of life is this? Is this the kind of family that I really imagine for my kids? That also planted the seed, the question of, is this really worth it? That I keep believing that a whole complete family is what matters, what important? Or is it the environment that my kids grew up with is the most important
Yeah.
thing? Because what's the point of having this complete family if all they see is there's no love? It's all hatred, shouting, yelling, and hurting each other.
And
That.
the person you were in that relationship also just wanted to highlight, yes, there was the fighting and his response was the physical
Mhm.
side. But who were you in that situation, or who were you in that? I'm trying to highlight how you were showing up for him and your kids and for yourself. Yeah. Compared to later.
Yeah, I feel like a totally different person from who I am now to who I was back then. Because right now, back then, I was like shouting so much, so full of anger and rage. And I think it's because of what's happening in my life. And I just release it that provokes him to actually physically hurt me. Because I'm just like, nagging so much. And with my kids, I don't really have time to spend with them, to play with them, because I'm thinking it's either me going to work, me cleaning the house as soon as I get home, me feeding them. And I don't have time to take care of myself as well. I don't have time to see if I still look good or if I feel good physically, very unhealthy. Physically, I get sick every week and I just look very stressed. I look like I'm 35, 40 when I was just what, 2 at that time.
Yeah, I just wanted to highlight the sometimes when we're in such bad situations like that, what's going on around us is terrible, but also the way we are interacting, we're causing a lot of it. Let's talk a little bit about like how did
Mhm.
you get to the point where you're friends with him now? And what do you see in who he has become since you guys broke up?
Yes, I started instead of continue having this blaming mindset inside of me that everything that bad happens to me, it's because of him, because he made me pregnant, because he physically abused me. Now that I was able to reflect that, hey, I was also responsible for what happened. I also causes the problem. I was also part of the problem. I provoked him. I wouldn't say the physical abuse was good, but now I can step back and actually be able to understand the behavior that he was showing at that time. And for 3, 4 years, I was thinking that's who he is as a person. He's just an irresponsible person. He's just nobody. He doesn't think of his family. He doesn't care about his family. Instead of seeing him that way, I just started thinking that it was just a behavior and it's changeable. And I was able to see the proof of that. Now that we're not in the relationship anymore, now that we're not triggering each other, now that we're not provoking each other, we are able as individual like navigate our life, and seeing that I feel happy for him. Oh, finally he's able to find a job, he's able to provide for himself, because for a while, for a long time in our relationship, I was doing everything for that. I make him incapable of doing things because I keep saying those things that he
Yeah,
is not capable. I didn't
right.
believe in him.
It's really cool to hear, to see that and to know that you're able to, that it took you a while, but then you finally got to the point where you realized that you stopped blaming and you took ownership and you started seeing the things you liked in him and made him maybe more free to
Mm.
grow. Yeah. So it's a crazy thing when one person in a partnership is pushing for improvement or progress or growth, and the other person hasn't made that decision. And then I did that too, where I felt like I was the person with the vision, the person trying to make things happen, trying to create progress, and really made my partner feel bad for a very long time. And that just is the opposite of inspiring. That doesn't lift
Mm.
people up. If you constantly tell them what you're not appreciating about them and you're trying to pressure them to grow or you're trying to pressure them to contribute, it's the opposite of inspiring. I realized like way too late how long I was doing the opposite of empowering. Thanks for sharing that.
I just want to appreciate you as well. You've gone through that journey already, and you were the one who really gets me reflecting on those things. Because if not because of you, I wouldn't have thought of, hey, maybe it's not just him who causes this problem. Maybe I'm part of it too. You asking question, and that's something I really appreciate about you is you. Even though I am your partner, we are partner, and he was my ex, you still see situation without bias. Like you still ask me question to reflect on myself and the actions and the belief that I've had about him because I freeze him in my mind as this is that person. Even though I tried to already have a good communication with him, but every time that his message pop up, I had this trigger.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
get triggered, I get angry, and my automatic response, my default response is to nag at him, is to tell him how criticize again and
Yeah.
blaming. And I wasn't paying attention to it. I wasn't noticing it because it's just automatic for me. I've operated that way for 6 years with him. So even though we're not together in the relationship, I would still react the same way. It's just an
Yeah.
automatic default. But you made me pause and think. And we watched this YouTube video about resentment and anger. And just after watching that video, I was like, fuck, I cried so much because this emotion, I realized, even though I have accepted that we're no longer together, I'm in a happy place now. I haven't fully healed. I haven't fully let go of that resentment and anger towards him. And I didn't know that it actually causes me to still not be able to fully become the person that I want to be, which is to
Blocking
love
you.
and yeah, it blocks me to grow myself because what I want to be is to love people, to care about people. And I couldn't do that with him.
Yeah. Do you think part of that was also that the interactions were with him were triggering not only the resentment of how he treated you, but also reminding you of how much you didn't respect the way you had acted? Like that you needed to forgive both of you?
Yes, that's also the part. Because now that I'm trying to be in a place of forgiving, compassionate, empathetic, and realizing that I wasn't giving that to him at all at that time, there's this shame feeling of what kind of person am I like.
Yeah.
And again, that's a mistake because that time you did what you did because that's the kind of thinking and approach that you know. And I just don't know better at that time. And now that
Yeah.
I know,
Also, now that I know a bit about how the brain actually works, like you're in a terrible energy state because you're not sleeping and you're eating terrible and you just had two kids and you have all this anger going on all the time. You actually don't have much chance of rational thinking. You're not going to be able to make decisions that are logical. You're just going to be doing things based off of those primal emotions.
definitely, environment is also very critical on how you behave, how you react, and how you actually like mold yourself. If you're in that environment where there's just pressure, pain, suffering, and hurt, there's no way for you to think of something creative, something beautiful for
Yeah.
yourself.
Exactly. I really appreciate what you were saying about how you had frozen him in time. And I think just I'll comment on that because anybody listening, it's a really, I think we probably don't notice that we're doing it most of the time, but there are people in our lives that we would wish for them to change. We'd wish for them to evolve or grow. And yet we don't realize how much we're holding them back because we're not really giving them a chance because we are treating them in such a way that we're constantly telling them over and over again that they can't change by the way that we treat them. We're not actually giving them space because we've just decided that this is unconsciously, but we've like decided this is who this person is. And we're not really giving them space. We're actually holding them back. If you want people to grow, give them space and think about how much it's possible that they can grow and see if the way you're treating them is boxing them in to that frozen version.
Yes, totally agree.
All right, so let's talk about being a single mom after the relationship. And like in the relationship, you were telling yourself that you wouldn't be able to find someone and
Mm.
that being a single mom with two kids, that nobody's going to accept you. I don't know what you thought about your physical beauty or your intelligence or your attractiveness at that point, but what did you do? And what was it like after the relationship?
So after the relationship, I was scared to end up going back. So the only way for me, the solution that I have in my head is
Why were you afraid that you would go back? Just a
because
little curious about that.
it happens a lot. We would break up, and then after 3 months, 6 months, or even 1 year, we had this 1 year apart. But as soon as he showed up at the door and begged, I would end up going back to him. And
Yeah.
I don't have belief in myself that I will be able to stop myself from doing that, because it feels, even though it's such a terrible situation, it is very familiar for me. I am more
I don't think I've ever asked you this before, and it's like a little bit of a side thing,
Mhm.
but can you, looking back from who you are now and what you understand about yourself now, what were the parts of you that were drawing you back to the relationship? Even though obviously your logical brain wouldn't be deciding, but what do you think was pulling you, if you're honest with yourself?
I think the film,
Just
because
the,
it the
just,
comfort of, okay, this is, I know this person, I know the kind of fight that we're doing, I
yeah.
know how he reacts, and yeah, those known things is very comfortable for me, even though those knowns are terrible. But
Yeah.
if I compare it to the idea of not having him, being a single mom, navigating life alone, or even finding a partners, those are scary things because I couldn't imagine it. I haven't seen it. I haven't experienced it. So those were like scary for me. So that's why I always end up going back.
Got it. All right. So then you thought that maybe the only way to avoid going back would be,
Yes, find a new relationship, settle down with someone who's gonna marry me, who will like, we can live happily ever up after, the Mr. Right, the one. And in call center, I have a lot of gay friends, and they would like suggest to me, hey, Glads, use this dating app, Tinder, and all of those other things. And I just decided, okay, because I made this decision that I'm not gonna go back. So I will do everything I can just to prevent myself from going back. So I've used all those dating apps, and I was surprised at first that I was getting a lot of attention in the dating site, because I never thought of that. It shifted my mindset like, oh, maybe I'm attractive. Like I get a lot of this attention now. But then I noticed when I match with someone young and good looking, I couldn't believe it. Like my self narrative of, you're not good enough, you're not beautiful. Look at you and look at this man. There's such a big match. I would be so scared to meet with a young, handsome guy because I wasn't confident enough. And I feel like if I would meet him, I will just be rejected. So I was even dating like older guys back then. However, even if I meet those people, like I don't have anything to put in the table. I don't have much idea. All I do is just listen, hear. And I guess they were just bored at me and they don't continue with the dating. It
not pursuing
doesn't
you.
really, yeah, not pursuing me. It doesn't really evolve. So again, this narrative of, I'm not worthy. Like there's no one that will really take me seriously. And maybe because I have two kids, like I see being a single mom is such a deal breaker to be in a relationship. That was my thought before. And after 2 years of trying to date and find someone, and even if I met this guy who really takes care of me, who really showed how much he cares for me, just because I couldn't believe it myself, I self sabotage it. I
Mm.
just break that relationship that we built because I just couldn't accept it to myself that there's a person that would actually love me and care for me. And it's emotional. Didn't know that coming. But yeah, I was very sad because that was my first time as well that I had a person who showed care and love. And because of this voice inside of me that keeps telling me that no, you're not worthy of this love. You're not worthy of this kind of like compassion and interest and care for other people. You better get yourself out of that situation because you're just It's like you're dragging this guy to the kind of life that you're having right now. This is a young guy. This guy he could meet so much better than you. So you better just remove yourself out there. And because of that, I caused so much pain to this person. And that's also something that I feel so bad about because I care for him and I don't want to hurt anybody, but I did it because of I sabotaged myself because of this low self belief.
Were you fully aware of that then? You're looking back on it now and you realize that, but did you consciously know you were doing that at the time?
I consciously know the kind of thinking that I have, which is I'm not good enough.
You just said, I don't want to drag him.
Yeah,
But,
exactly.
but the behavior, just curious, because you and I have seen a lot of women do this, maybe men too, in a different way sometimes,
Mhm.
but do these sort of things and instead of seeing what they could become, they sometimes bail too soon before they find out.
Yeah.
And it's because of things like this. But what was the behavior? What did you, as much as you're willing to share in public, what kind of behavior did you do to sabotage?
We're in this long distance kind of relationship thing. He came here to the Philippines twice, and most of that time we are long distance. And while I'm here, and even though he's calling me every day, in my mind, I'm thinking like maybe he's also chatting with other girls, so I might as well chat with other guys so I can prepare myself that if he realized that I'm actually not someone that he would want to spend his life with, then I have someone that I can fall back to. So I keep,
Hedge your bets?
yes, so like that. And he's young. He's not really the guy that I would imagine being paired with me because I have also such a very low standard. I didn't know how calm that we match. I was just telling myself that this is not going to work, even though I've seen the effort, the communication, but my voice that says it's not going to work was just the one that prevails. So I keep chatting other people, I keep meeting other people, dating other people on the side. But I wasn't really happy and satisfied because I wasn't getting it doesn't pursue, it doesn't go deep.
Mhm. And so then what happened? What did you learn from the dating experience?
So after 2 years of trying so hard to find someone that I think actually help me not be alone in life and help me navigate this life and family situation with my kids and continuously failing, I made this decision again of what? Let me just not look for love. Let me just not try to really find someone that I can settle down with. And based on those experiences, I got a lot of good feeling, a lot of good experiences as well at the same time that also helped me grow and see a different perspective in life that actually started my curiosity to learning and growth by meeting all these guys from different country because I'm very curious person. Every time I meet someone, I ask them, "Oh, what does it look like in your country?" And I always observe as well the kind of belief, the culture that they have, and I see it like, wow, it's so different here in the Philippines. The way they think about religion, the way they see women, the way they see career, it's different here. So that sparks my curiosity.
Just on that point, because I think a lot of people in the Philippines,
Mhm.
you and I have talked about this a lot. A lot of people here see those differences and then they
Mm.
think it's this way everywhere else and it's this way in the Philippines. But what I'm trying to say is, did you see that every guy that you met from Western countries had roughly the same views and mindset and culture and beliefs? And then the Philippines is just over here completely different? Or did you see huge differences also between the people you met from different countries?
There are definitely different views and perspective from people from different country or even few people from the same country. They also have different belief. What was my takeaway from that observation is, I can actually just simply change my belief. I don't necessarily have to hold into this belief that we have here in our country because I realize that's the one that holds me back. That's the one that limit me. What if I could just shift my belief to this kind of thinking that this person have? Let me try it. And I had this guy that was telling me about fitness and health and this opportunity thing. Like, oh, you said that you have limited time, but you actually have abundance of time. You can make a decision to find a job that you want. If you want to pursue study, you can just get this job and save up and all of that. And I tried it and I was like, wow, it actually works. So every time I hear feedback or a recommendation from someone, I started testing it out, putting it, and whenever I receive a result that, wow, it actually works, or yeah, it doesn't work, but still I see where was the mistake that I've done. So I get a lot of learning and that really excite me. I feel like I have this sense of progress every time I test something that I learn from other people or from something that I read or watch. So that kind of sparked this growth journey as well. And this also leads me to deciding that, you know what, I'm happy now. I'm in this place where I have a house, I have my two kids, I have a decent job that actually pays, like, hardly pays the bill, but surviving. So I'm just gonna be happy with what I have now and continue living a life where I can just focus on what can I do next, what can I better my life. Like I started first in working out. So I decided, okay, I'm gonna instead of keep meeting other guys and trying to find a partner, let me shift that focus back to me and decided to, okay, let me take care of myself because I feel like I'm having a lot of sickness the past few weeks. I started working out, home workout, just 10 minutes every day, like really 7 days a week. And just 2 weeks of doing that, I was like so shocked that I saw like transformation in my body.
About
And
what you felt.
I feel so good and it made me like think of if I can change my physical body, what else can I change? So I
Nice.
got so excited by that result. And so I started eating less rice and I don't just stick on the diet thing, but I also started paying attention to the food that I eat. Instead of drinking 3-in-1 coffee, I stick to the Nescafe stick without sugar. And even that simple thing, I realized like, oh my God, this is so bitter. Before for me, I couldn't drink it without sugar, but I can train myself. Oh, this is surprising. I can train myself to actually like what I'm
What you
taking.
previously
Yeah,
didn't like. Yeah.
exactly. Like I can rewire, I can shift, I can change. So that was all very exciting for me. So now when I decided, "Ah, I want to get back to dating, I want to get back to meeting other people, I open up, I decided, oh, I want to, because I deactivated Facebook for almost 2 years as well during that time, because it was just a lot of toxic things. I decided, okay, this time I'm going to go back to the dating scene. I'm going to go back to like social media, but I'm going to filter the people that I will meet. I only want to connect with people that can bring value to my life that I can learn from. And that's how we basically connect because we match in Tinder, but we didn't meet until I started doing the Facebook thing and I saw you products with purpose. And because of my intention of wanting to grow and learn from people that I connected with, I started messaging you. I'm very proactive of reaching out to people, trying to connect with people. And I am so happy I did that because here I am now.
So you and I matched on Tinder when you were still in the dating, looking for a partner phase.
Yes, looking in for a partner phase like April of what year was that?
2021.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then we didn't really met till September. It was like our
So you stopped meeting people, you were just focusing on yourself. And then when we actually met, it was because you connected with me on Facebook. Okay. Got it. All right. Looking at the takeaways from your experiences, you met a lot of people from a lot of places, which I would say very few people actually do that. Very few people end up really getting that kind of data, meeting enough people to learn more about humans, like, and also learn more about yourself, and then learn more about what you're looking for, what you're not looking for, differences in people's worldview or their values or their mindsets, their attitudes toward things, right? Their habits.
Mm.
So you got a lot of data from meeting more people. And then from that learning, but then you got to this place where it's okay, I can live this life without a partner. I'm just going to focus on growing myself instead of trying to solve my life with someone else. Because that's what we do, right? We don't
Yeah.
realize we're doing it, but we feel somehow incomplete. We feel somehow empty or missing something. And then we try to fill that void. We try to fix ourselves with someone else, which is probably what you were doing to some degree, which is like
Yeah.
a shortcut and a cheat, and it doesn't really work. I don't think it ever works for anyone, but that's what most people are trying to do. So let me find that perfect partner that will complete me. And so you shifted the focus back on yourself, growing yourself, and you belief that you had to find a partner to be happy, something like that. Is that fair?
Mm-hmm. Yes,
Okay. And then
definitely.
what did that lead to? Just letting go of the belief that you had to find the partner to be happy. What did you learn from that shift?
It actually allows me to be more like and really connect with someone because there's no agenda, there's
Exactly.
no intention, there's no expectation of what this conversation might turn into. And when it turns into something beautiful, I can just appreciate it and feel so grateful and happy about it. And I guess that's one of the reason why I connected so much. I attracted a lot of people in my life that even up until now, I still continue connecting with them because they feel safe with me. They feel like, oh, they're not threatened that I will gonna, because most of the girls, as I've noticed, it's like whenever they get this good feeling from someone, they don't want to let go of it. And the tendency for the guys, they get like, oh my God, I am just here as a tourist. I want to meet a lot of people. And now you're like clinging to me and doesn't want to let me go. So they would even end up getting scared and leave you. And that's what happened to me. I started expecting so much from them and they get scared and they run away. But this time, they feel like, oh, they can be themselves. They can actually enjoy my company without having to worry that if they say goodbye, they would hurt me.
Have you seen
Some
guys doing that ever with the same thing? Like getting too attached too quickly?
I think so. I think there are also guys like that, and then they realize at some point, few months in the relationship, they see that they start seeing the flaw or misalignment with the woman, and then they would leave, or worse, they just get stuck with the
Yeah.
same person for a long time.
Yeah. People often go way too fast. And I think just having that agenda going in is problematic, generally speaking. Too focused on that outcome and question, is this person going to be a good fit?
Yeah.
Is this person partnership material? Yeah. So I was in the same position. I was not desperately in a hurry looking for a partner, but I had a very clear list of things that you've seen that I actually had,
Yeah.
what, 13 tick boxes or something.
How did I pass
And
the filter?
just by being you, we'll have to do another episode another time about that tick box. I'm trying to find the journal that the tick
Yeah.
boxes are in because
Could
I need
have
to find
taken a
it.
picture.
I I sent somebody a picture at some point. I have it somewhere, I
Okay.
think. So you passed my filters.
Wow.
Even though I wasn't really looking for some partner right away, you started shining out as somebody who I needed to spend more time with because maybe. And then it's been a year and a half and there's no maybe anymore. So what else do you want to say?
I I just want to highlight on really surrounding yourself or being around people that would inspire you and help you grow more. Because, yes, I am in that journey of wanting to improve my life and grow myself, but I was alone in that journey and I felt like it's so slow. But when we started dating and we live in the same place and you were there always providing me with like books, recommending me podcasts, and really giving me that time and space to to experience and to learn, it really just spiked my ability to really grow myself and improve all these practices that we've done in the past, like value hierarchy, like alignment thing. Those were like very important things that really helped me so much in growing myself. And I just want to appreciate you and to thank you and to let other people know that how important it is to be partnered with someone that can help you grow, that can inspire you, that both of you can actually co-create together and learn together, grow together. Because I think it's just the most beautiful thing. This is the most beautiful thing.
I always dreamed of being in a relationship with someone that was as on that journey and thinking about what would make an ideal partnership, what would make a partnership super ideal. And some of the things that I come up with were both people, each person would be growing faster than he or she would have been otherwise, right? Like a being in the
Mhm.
relationship is making you better. And it's amazing to have found that. And I wish that for everyone. I wish that people would taking ownership of your own growth and like doing the work on yourself and making that the priority. And the work I've done on myself to get to the point where I actually liked myself and I didn't feel like I had holes or gaps that not, there's always things to improve. And even like right now, I feel like there's a ton of things I need to get back to that I'm not growing or evolving as fast as I would be happy with. But it's taking personal ownership of that. And for two people to have already done that to the point where you can love yourself and you can live alone and you don't feel like you need someone else to complete you, but then getting into a relationship where both people are prioritizing growth and learning at the core. And I would just say that for me, that's been everything. That for me is the number one thing I look for in anyone is this person really prioritizing growth and learning in their lives and in all the experiences that we've had in the last year and a half, some of them very challenging. I think that's just the magical foundation to build on because every time we have an argument or a disagreement or a misunderstanding or we trigger each other, we can eventually get back, sometimes quickly, sometimes not so quickly, back to, hey, what the whole point is, what can we learn from this? Like, how can we take this and just learn? And I'm so grateful to be, now I'm going to get emotional. I'm so grateful to be, yeah, partnered with somebody who is so committed to that. Thank you.
Yeah, let's create another content specific on that relationship journey and how important it is to actually find a partner that you can learn with, grow with, and commit to really improving and understanding yourselves because it's so important.
Yeah, definitely 100% agree. I guess just to wrap things up, because there's a lot of other things we could talk about in there, but we're already, I think we're at least an hour. What do you want to share when it comes to Emerge PH and why you decided to get this thing started? Why did you, yeah, spark this?
Before, I only think of how can I survive. And when I've already overcome that phase and already in a place of I feel like I'm successful already because every day I see progress, every day I feel this like fulfillment in my life that I'm learning something, I'm growing myself, I'm becoming a better person. Now my mindset is shifted to instead of just surviving this life, it's like, how can inspire other people? How can I help other people live this kind of fulfilling life, even wherever they are right now, even if they're still in a squatter area? You don't have to wait until you buy big house, own a car to be able to feel fulfilled. So that really sparks my interest. And at the same time, like I started sharing it to my family and friends to inspire them to be in this growth journey. And I was sad because they were not ready for it. They're not interested for it. So I started thinking, like, what? Or you actually reminded me that not everyone is ready for this. So try to attract people who are already in that journey. And I reflected on it and I was like, yeah, it took me a while to actually be ready to decided to go this path. And I know that there are people out there who's also in this journey and I know it can be lonely. I know it can be scary. And I want to be able to build something for them, a support group, a system, a family that they can be part of so that they have a tribe to uplift them and really tell them, just go, girl, continue, push through with the journey. And so we started with the community, Scale You. And I was like, what else can we do? Like, how else can we like touch more lives? And you had this emerge like vision when we met that you shared to me. And so I just had this spark of, hey, Eli, let's start this. What are the things that we need to do to really keep this emerge go moving forward? And here we are doing this.
Thank you so much for having the guts to try becoming an entrepreneur and doing something purposeful like this, dreaming of this model or this goal, this mission, this purpose for 8 years. And it's a little scary because I don't really know how to do it and doesn't feel, it definitely doesn't feel easy, but I'm really excited to be doing it with you. And I was really looking for the right partner for so long to start it with. I didn't expect to find a life partner to start it with, but I am really grateful and excited. And yeah, so glad we finally did this first interview. And now let's go get some time in nature. Love you.
Yes, love you.
Thank you so much for listening to this interview on Emerge Stories. We really hope that something here sparked your curiosity or maybe helped you think about something in your life just from a little bit of a different angle or perspective, maybe opened up your mind to something you might be able to do in your life to take more ownership of your own learning and growth. That's the goal of this show. So please join our community, like and share, and tell other people about these stories if they're meaningful for you. And thanks so much for being here.